There are a few wild moba trees in Bajor's Kendra province, just south of the Yolja River. Worf could never go to Stovacor knowing he owed Quark money, and Ezri Dax is terrible at faking subspace interference. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seventh Rule with Cirroc Lofton.
I can't hear you, Ryan. It's kind of my signal is blocking.
Excellent. Very good. I was worried. I was like, is he going to know what I'm talking about? I think I'm trying too hard with these trivioids. Today, we're doing a review of Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 17, Penumbra, written by Renee Echeverria, directed by Stephen L. Posey. This was April 7th, 1999. When I was writing down April 7th, 1999, it gave me like a little lump in my throat, like, you guys, this is the end. This is April of the final season. How are you today, Cirroc? I'm starting to get sad.
Yeah, it's getting sad. That finish line is creeping up on us.
Yeah,
and it's crazy because I've fallen in love with so many of the characters that it's sad to have to say goodbye to the world of Deep Space Nine, kind of imminently approaching. Guys like Wei-Yun, who were really, just remarkable in this episode. Guys like Damar, who's really risen through the ranks and just become one of my performance-wise, acting-wise, one of my favorites. I just like the way he delivers his scumbagness.
Yeah, he's got his own flavor, and I was noticing that in this episode that he has a different flavor from the other Cardassians. The other Cardassians we've known are always conniving, are always sneaky. They're different levels of nice or mean or fun or angry. But this guy, he's not really conniving or sneaky. He's not really slimy. He's not really car salesman. Like all of them, they always have something up their sleeve. He's just like, the way he talks to people is so direct and so like he just thinks that you're like the lowest scum when he talks to you. You know what I mean? Like, I love it. It's so good.
Yeah. And the fact that he has to take orders from somebody that you can tell that's just like, he's like that employee at work that just hates everybody and you know what I mean? It's just like, just mopes around. He's good at what he does, but he also is not good at his people skills or, personality wise. There's always a coworker like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of that self-motivated person that he has an interest, mostly power, which he gets to reap the benefits of through this subservient way. So it's kind of, it's a double-edged sword for him, because on one hand he gets to be the boss and have power. On the other hand, he has to take orders from somebody he despises in order to get that power.
Wait a minute.
So,
what are we doing? We got to talk about Dukat and Damar and Wei-Yun and all this, but the elephant in the room, I totally forgot. I want to know what your reaction is to Worf and Ezri hooking up. Did you see that coming at all, or were you like, what?
Yeah.
Where the hell did this come from?
I saw it coming. It was inevitable. Because they played it so hard the other way, that I knew they were setting me up, because it was just, he was too
irresistible.
Grumpy. No, he was too grumpy about her presence. Yeah. And the kind of feelings that he had for Dax, he would still have some kind of connection with her because she has all those memories that they share together. So there's no way that I was really surprised by this, nor did I buy the fact that he was going to stay mad at her for too long. I did like the way it went down, because one thing that I do know that we've seen established about Worf's character is that he likes an aggressive woman who's a fighter. That's one of the things that Jadzia was appealed to him about Jadzia, because she knew how to, fling that Klingon sword around, and that batleth, and she had her batleth game, and she was a fierce woman who would, fight him and challenge him in a fight. And I thought that when Esri, in this case, decided that she had enough of Worf and was going to slap him, that was the trigger of, oh, she's a fighter. I like that. I remember that.
Do you think he kind of went easy on her, though? Because all she had was like a stiff neck, and that was kind of the end of it. Whereas before, he and Jadzia were going into the infirmary with broken bones and all this stuff, and she was like, "Oh, you pulled my neck, Tiger," and he's like, "Just wait."
Yeah. She's also more petite than Jadzia, so I'm sure he had to take it easy on her. But there was a moment where she challenged Worf in her. What did she say just before she was about to slap him? There was a moment where she was like, "Oh, just shut up," or something. She said something that was like really aggressive, and I was like, "Whoa, Nicole's got those chops right there," because she turned on a level of fierce in that performance, in that scene.
Oh, that's what it was. She called him a coward.
Yeah. The way she said it, though.
Ooh.
The way she said it wasn't just that she said, "You're a coward." She said it and it stung. Like I was like, ooh, like, it really stuck.
And so he called her, who knows what he called her? It was in Klingon, but he called her something.
Yeah, a Slovak or something, Slovak or something. I was like, I'm pretty sure that means slut or something.
That's what I put. That's literally what I put in my notes was slut. I don't know why, but it's just because it started with an SL.
Yeah.
And her reaction, I was like, ooh, Worf called her a slut.
Yeah.
So who knows what he did call her, but that's what it felt like. And then she took a swing at him. And of course, because anytime somebody swings at you, that turns into a makeout session. And so, the rest is history.
Yeah, that's how my makeout session started.
Insulting each other and punching each other.
Right before a slap. No, I wasn't surprised by this because they had unfinished business. They had to kind of hash this out because obviously they got so much history together. And I thought that I just like her comebacks for Worf. She really held her own in this scene. I thought Esri was good at holding herself and just holding her own. There was a moment when she was like, "Oh, I thought we weren't going to talk about that."
Yeah,
she gave him the business in that in the argument department, and Worf was getting a little frustrated by that.
Yeah, it was an interesting dynamic because Worf and Jadzia were like equals. They're very similar in rank, very similar in role. Similar in fighting skill. They were like eye to eye in a lot of ways and well matched. And then you've got this Esri that is not, first of all, in stature, she's much shorter than Jadzia was. She's a lot younger. She has a lower rank. She has less experience. She's not a fighter. You know what I mean? It's a totally different thing. So for Worf, there's probably this frustration of, why Jadzia could challenge me, but who is this girl, this 19-year-old or whatever she is, 5'1" girl, stepping up to me and challenging me as if she's Jadzia, and that was part of his frustration. But I'm sure that was also part of what led to what ended up happening. Was at some point he is going to have to accept her for who she is and as another person, not look down at her or thumb his nose at her or roll his eyes. He's going to have to address her like, a peer in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And what she did show, maybe she's not a fighter or she's not exactly what Jadzia was. But what she did show was that she, number one, cares for and loves Worf.
Mm-hmm.
So that exists inside of her, that care for him, that deep concern for his well-being.
Mm-hmm. Worf exists inside of her, yeah.
And the other thing that is important to her is I thought she showed courage because she went by herself, right? And she said, "I'm going to go on my own. I'm going to risk my life essentially. And that courage is something that reminds me of what Jadzia used to show a lot of, just that courage. So she is a tough person in her own way. And I like the way that she exuded her toughness throughout this episode, showing the courage to go out there, coming up with the plan to just let herself flow in the current of the plasma field or whatever it was. To me, that just showed bravery, courage, and also there was a scene with her and Sisko, which showed Sisko's faith in her. Where she pretended that the whole interference garbage, that she was acting like she couldn't hear the communication. He was like, "Yeah, come on." But when Kira's like, "Hey, I can send I can send some ships to go get her and bring her back," Sisko says, "Let her go."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was poignant to me. It showed that he had faith in her. He understood where she was coming from. He didn't need a whole explanation or conversation. He knows that this is true love, that they've had for together, and that you can't really get in between true love, and you can't order somebody around when they are acting out of a sense of love, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we saw Sisko start off this whole show with his true love, his wife, and losing her in the pilot episode. And we saw how anybody trying to get in between that, was not met with a friendly Sisko, and he was going to do whatever he wanted to do regardless.
Yeah.
So I think that she showed that level of commitment in this episode.
And he also said, look, they said, why are you going to not let her go? Or why are you going to let her go? And he said, because she would never forgive me if I didn't. And he's just like, ain't nobody want to deal with that. Don't want to deal with the Dax that doesn't forgive you, man.
No, because it's just not going anywhere. Dax is always going to be finding a new host, and you're always going to have to hear about it no matter what. It doesn't just die away, So, no, he knows. How good is Jeffrey Combs? And especially his relationship, like when he's countering Damar and Ducat, he's just like so manipulative and menacing and subtle, though. It's like you don't fear him physically. Like I don't look at Wei-Yun and say, "Oh my God, I'm afraid of Wei-Yun." I'd be afraid of Worf, this giant guy with a bat lift on his shoulder. But when you see Wei-Yun, you're not terrified. But his personality is terrifying. He has that the Silence of the Lambs, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah.
He has that psychological terror that he puts on you, where it's not a physical, like you're physically afraid of some bodybuilder who's huge. You're more afraid of like how maniacal and evil this guy is, and how far he's willing to go to pull off what he wants to pull off if he decides.
While you were saying that, I had to look in my notes. There was a line that he delivered so beautifully, Wei-Yun, Jeffrey Combs, and every once in a while there's a line that's delivered so well that you're like, wow, he got this line that was well written, and then he added something to it. And the line was, if you have something to say, Damar, say it. And most people, they would read that, they would say, hey, if you have something to say, Damar, say it. It would be almost like tough, they got to say it tough. But he says it so unworried and unbothered. He's like, if you have something to say, Damar, say it. Like, it's very like you go right ahead. I'm not worried. I don't need to challenge you because you don't challenge me. He's just very unconcerned, and condescending, and it's just like a cat playing with a half dead mouse.
It's
amazing.
I wrote the same line in my notes because it jumped out at me the exact same way. If you have something to say, DeMar, say it. And he's so dismissive of him.
Yes, exactly.
Like,
He
you
takes
are not
away his power just by the
right,
way he talks to him.
right. And so he looks at him. Uh, he keeps him at a range where he keeps reminding him who's the boss. But he also looks at him like, you can be eliminated so quickly, and it wouldn't bother me to have somebody else replace you. And it's so, it's so condescending. But I wrote the same line down because I
Yeah.
thought, wow, this guy just nailed it.
Yeah.
And it was just, he only has so many lines and so many scenes, but when he shows up, he's giving it to you. Even when he saw the founder, and he has that way of
I
leaving.
know, and he just flips into a totally different mood.
Yeah, he flips. Yeah, he flips completely. He goes from being the guy to, like, as you wish, and it's funny because that's why he looks at DeMar so in the way that he does, because he expects you to be as accommodating and worshiping as he is to the founders, right?
Yeah.
So when the founder pulls up, he's like, yes, as you wish, whatever you please, and he's always accommodating. He expects somebody, one of his subordinates, to approach him with that same level of welcomeness and honor and bowing down. And DeMar refuses to do that, right? So
Yeah.
that's why the conflict is so pervasive.
Yeah, it's such a great and refreshing dynamic that we had Weyoun and Ducat and their beautiful dynamic that they had and how well it worked. And then you're replacing Ducat in this kind of relationship with DeMar, and it's got to be the hardest thing because you can't have DeMar be the same character as Ducat to keep that dynamic. First of all, it wouldn't work because the actors are going to play it differently. So you wouldn't be able to replicate that. You wouldn't be able to, do that all over again. So now you have to find a way for that dynamic to work just as well with a different character. And they were able to do it. Like the Ducat Weyoun relationship is beautiful. It's poetry in motion, right? And then they replaced it with DeMar and Weyoun. And this relationship, this, push and pull and this tug of war works equally well to me, but it's a different relationship. It's a different feel and a different, a different dynamic there. And I just, big kudos to the writers, the directors, and of course the actors that made this work so well.
Yeah, and they're like you said about the differences in personality. When I look at Ducat, I think of somebody who is clever, but also thinks they're charming, right?
Okay.
When
Ducat is the most charming guy
well,
ever.
If you, yeah, from his own perspective, yes,
Yeah. Just ask him.
He's charming himself. But the person on the receiving end is usually disgusted by it. But regardless, he's clever. And you see him as an intelligent kind of chess playing type of person who's, really good at manipulation, right? Through the charm. He uses that to part of his manipulative tactics. But you also look at him as a clever person. I don't see Ducat and think, oh, he's an idiot. He doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I'm very convinced he knows what he's doing, and he's very calculated. With DeMar, you kind of look at him like, how like a hammer that's just looking for a nail. He's more of a blunt force type of guy. You don't look at his intelligence really. You look at him more of like an opportunist, but not as an intelligent kind of clever, chess player. Yeah, schemer trying to win the game.
Totally. It seems almost like Ducat is a little bit more cerebral and Damar is more of a mood or a personality. He's just like, he's a soldier through and through. And he's just
Yes.
like, hey, whatever it takes, I don't care. But one day I'm going to kill you. One day, he's just like, I cannot wait to kill this little freaking rat. You know, like he just looks at Wei Yun like, every word that comes out of Wei Yun's mouth, Damar's going, all right, that's just that much more. I'm going to enjoy it when I rip your head off one of these days. You know, like all he's doing is planning killing Wei Yun. And Wei Yun's just like, you know, Wei Yun's like, I'm not touching you. You're never going to kill me. You're never going to. Oh, it's so good.
They also had a great back and forth there. Wei Yun and Damar. It was a moment where, oh man,
Okay,
my mind.
can I jump in on this because I
Tell me,
think I might know is when he says, Wei Yun says, how can a god be ill? And Damar says, maybe she's not a god. And I'm like, oh, like that was a sword in the throat. That he just stabbed him so hard with that. Because he said it with such contempt, like he's trying to hurt him. He's trying to hurt his feelings.
Yes. And his Wei Yun's comeback was like, you don't need to believe in it, but just they only require your obedience.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. So just keep yourself obedient. Okay. Yeah. Obey.
We don't care what you think. We only care what you do. So just make sure that you do.
Yes. But that wasn't the scene I was talking about. I was actually talking about a different moment when Damar gets called away and they say, okay, Damar, you're needed at your quarters or something to that effect. And Wei Yun says, don't think I don't know what you're doing. And
that's great.
The moment it froze Damar in his tracks, and he's looking like
he's like, you're even more foolish than Ducat and Damar. And we're all thinking like, oh shit, he knows. And he's like, you know, with the ladies, he's like, oh yeah, the ladies, huh? You got me.
Guilty as charged.
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah. We do have to jump to our break real quick. So let's hop on that. And then when we come back, there are more shocking moments in this, like Ducat. What?
Yeah.
We'll be right back. We'll be right back.
It.
Everybody's waiting with bated breath to know your reaction about Ducat the Bajorn. We'll be right back on The Seventh Rule. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Seventh Rule with Cirroc, Lofton, and Gul Dukat the Bajorn. Okay, so very quickly, here are the trivioids. There are a few wild moba trees in the Kendra province, just south of the Yolja River. Sisko bought 12 hecapades in the Kendra province. Worf has gone missing in the Badlands. Worf could never go to Sto-vo-kor, knowing he owed Quark money. That was a sweet moment, too, by the way, where Quark was consoling Ezri. The female changeling wants her own personal secret comm. Ezri Dax is terrible at faking subspace interference. Captain Sisko builds a model of his future home. There's some great stuff there, too. Captain Sisko hides Cassidy's ring in a pretty sneaky place. Alexander has been made the weapons officer of the Yavang. Worf is sick of field rations, and the Federation has pulled the 6th Fleet from the Bolian front. Ooh, my oh my. Okay, Cirroc.
Yeah.
Vedic Ducat or what?
I was kind of blown away. Mark Alimo. That's we got to actually Mark Alimo almost gets to not wear makeup for a little bit in this episode. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the hell's going on here? What? First of all, I was thinking, what is his plan? Because he's obviously got a plan, and he was lurking around when he pops up on the scene. I'm like, uh-oh, this guy wants to take over again. He wants to be the one in charge. And
he's
Damar
not just in the neighborhood.
Yeah. And Damar obviously has more loyalty to Ducat than he does to Weyoun and
Yeah.
the founders.
And that is kind of an interesting relationship between Damar and Ducat, because it seems like he is loyal to Ducat, and he seems like he still looks up to Ducat, but he's certainly trepidatious about it. He's certainly like, all right. And then when a beautifully written line, when Ducat says, what do you think? And Damar says something to the effect of, I hope that the surgeon is as good at returning you back to what you were as
Yeah.
And that's a great line. In other words, I don't like it, is what he's saying.
I don't like looking at your face like this. That was like right off the top.
Surgeon better be just as good at making you back into a Cardassian, because I'm about to lose my lunch. I actually, even though I've seen this episode before, a while back, I actually predicted what Damar was going to say, even though I knew he wasn't going to say it. But for some reason, when Ducat said, "What do you think?" I could just feel Damar saying, I think I'm going to be sick. I just felt like that was the line that he was thinking in his head, but he can't say that to Ducat, so he has to say it in a more eloquent way or whatever. But that's what he's thinking. I think I'm going to be fucking sick, man.
Yeah, I think Damar is just he's just a very good character to have. He's out for himself. He is an opportunist. If he sees a window where he can move up in this direction, he'll take it. If it's in this direction, he'll take it. And if he has to play both sides, he'll play both sides. He's really a very skeptical character. He's skeptical of everybody and everything, right?
Good point.
And I like that. He doesn't fully trust Ducat, even though he respects him and he'll do what he says. But there's a skepticism there. Like I might have to pull my knife out when he turns around and stab him in the back. And he's waiting for the moment to stab Weyoun in the back. So it's like you could just see he's just waiting to stab somebody in the back, which is what makes him such a nasty but a good character, and perfectly suited for the role of this villain that he plays in this show.
Yeah, when you said he's always skeptical, I was thinking I feel almost like that's an impression we get more so from the actor Casey Biggs than from the actual writing, because when you said skeptical, I realized that it feels like the actor delivers every line with skepticism, and he looks at he's always just kind of he doesn't look people straight. He's always kind of trying to calculate
what do you mean?
What do I think? What are you planning? Yeah, I don't know. He's just the whole time there's between 10 and 100% skepticism in his eyes and in his delivery. Yeah, it's a good catch.
Yeah, very dynamic character. I just like it. And to me, to be able to fill the void that Ducat leaves in that position, that's it takes a lot of talent, because Marc Alaimo is so amazing at Ducat. He's so good that if you can be even in second place to this guy, that's pretty damn good. It's
So, and that was another thing with Ducat is when he has the reveal of going from Cardassian to Bajoran, and basically the actor Marc Alaimo now not only is not hiding behind the makeup, but no longer has that makeup as a crutch to help him portray that character, right? The outfit, the makeup, all of this stuff helps the actor to convey this personality, right? So without the scales and the neck pieces and the wig and the armor and the silver makeup on his face,
the ridges on his neck ridges.
Yeah, my first thought was I was curious to see the acting that Marc Alaimo does, because how could he possibly deliver things the same way as Gul Dukat when he doesn't look or feel like Gul Dukat anymore himself? He doesn't feel like that, because for 7 years he knew what playing Gul Dukat felt like. He had the armor, he had this, and he had that, but he was able to do it. And I was kind of surprised because I watched really closely. He still had the way that he pronounces the words, and he still had the now Damar, like, and you kind of, you watch him very closely. So, big kudos to Mark Alimo for being able to play Gul Dukat, even though he surely did not feel like Gul Dukat at that moment,
I really enjoyed that impersonation right there. I thought that was special. We're going to have to send that to Mark Alimo and see if that'll be the thing that puts him over the top.
To lure him over. He'll be like, all right, these kids got grit. All right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think he'll like that impersonation. We're going to have to clip that. Worf was also funny in this episode to me. And he has a delivery that is unique and special to Worf. And so when him and Ezri were going back and forth about, she says, well, I shouldn't have even rescued you anyways. Like, you'd still be floating around in the plasma if I didn't come here, right? His response, and I'm beginning to regret it. I just
ruthless.
It's just classic Worf, and the way he delivers the line, the inflections and where he puts them, is classic Worf. It's classic Worf. But what did you think about this Captain Baudet reference? Because we've heard about him before, right?
Yes, we have. This is one of the many non-appearance mentions we had in this episode. There were a lot. And, we've heard him mentioned, I would guess somewhere around 5. I could check. Oh, no. This was only the 4th time they've mentioned Captain Baudet, according to my notes, which is surprising because it feels like they've talked about him a lot.
Yeah.
And Jadzia has talked about him, and she's always talking about, Captain Baudet. And they're like, but he's got the transparent skull and you can see his brains. And, O'Brien even has that line, like, I wonder what she sees in him. And he's like, his brains, But yeah, apparently Worf is jealous because he was always a little jealous of Captain Baudet with Jadzia, apparently. And now he's like, this freaking guy is also going after Ezri now. He's like, I'm tired of this Captain Baudet guy. I'm going to crack his skull like an egg. And so everybody can really see his brains.
Worf is just jealous because you can't see his brain.
Mm-hmm.
No.
He doesn't have one.
Yeah, No, the episode name is called Penumbra. And I had to look this up because I was wondering what the hell Penumbra is. And
me too. And I had a guess.
Yes.
And I was wrong because my guess was the only time I've seen the suffix pen, it means like the one before, like penultimate, right? So I was like, oh, I wonder if this means like this is the moment before the end. Pen, umbra, maybe meaning end or something. I was like overthinking. And I looked it up and it has something to do with like opaqueness and something. I'm like, okay, I was way off, but I thought it was a good guess. It says the partially shaded outer region of the shadow cast by an opaque object. And so I couldn't have been more wrong in my guess, but I don't know. Did you get anything else there?
Yeah, I think the noun third version of the word is the one that applies to this episode. And that definition, the third definition that I got, was an area in which something exists to a lesser or uncertain degree. And I was thinking that this episode is the area in which something exists to a lesser or uncertain degree is the relationship between Ezri and Worf. There's something that exists there to a lesser degree. Yeah. Or uncertain degree. Also, the reveal of Sisko wanting to marry Cassidy. And then kind of having to deal with, there's going to be a Bajoran attachment to this idea. It doesn't just come between two people. It comes with an entire civilization of people that are very interested in knowing what's going to
These
happen.
Bajorans, man, let this poor man breathe. Let the emissary and Cassidy just do their thing. And they're like Star Trek fans. They're like, nope, you can't do anything small. We're gonna be there. We're gonna be all up in your business.
I was like, seriously? You can't even just get married? Like, they're like, they're making a huge deal out of it. And then the prophets come to visit Sisko and tell him you'll be miserable if you get married. I'm like, yeah, every man knows that.
Yeah, that's part of the agreement. We get it. We get it. But you save on taxes, right?
Yeah, I thought that was the deal. But no, I was like, what the hell? He's really getting a lot of flack for this whole trying to get married and express his love. By the way, the scenes between Avery and Penny, where he expresses his love for her, I thought they were really special. I wrote a bunch of hearts down. When he says, she says, "Oh, well, it's your house. You can do whatever you want." He was like, "I was hoping it could be our house."
Yeah. It's a very, very fine house.
And then he says, "Let's get married," in that serious way. And when he said that, I was like, Sisko don't play, because he went right to the point.
Yeah. And he had a ring hiding under like a little pottery barn thing in the house. I was like, ooh, how long has that been sitting there? It's 3 a.m. and you just had that sitting there all day just in case she was going to come by. He's like, whenever she comes by, don't know when it's going to be, but I'm going to be like, let me move my my clay pot from the movie Ghost, and I'm going to pull this up.
But when he said to her, "Is that a yes?" and she was like, "Yes, Mr. Sisko." It was just a great scene. When he told her, "I love you," I loved the moment. It was special. I just felt like he took his time with it. I felt like he was sincere when he was saying it, and it felt heartfelt. It also felt like it was no nonsense. I'm not playing games. This is real.
Yeah, it felt like a very adult relationship, as in very mature and comfortable in one's shoes. The way Sisko played it, the way Avery played it, and the way Penny played it. They weren't jumping for joy. They weren't Tom Cruising it, jumping on a couch. They weren't, crying, and there weren't giant theatrics. It was just a heartfelt moment between two people that know who the other person is, and it was great chemistry. It was beautifully played by both, because you might want to overplay it, and I think that the choices were right in that it felt so mature, and it felt very heartfelt, and it felt very wholesome. And it's just another one of those things where this episode felt like it crammed in so many moments, so many storylines, so many things, and this could have been an episode in and of itself, right?
Yes.
You've got the proposal, you've got the building a house and the plans and where he's going to do it, and he's also doing this cool model of the house, which I was like, I could have spent an entire scene just watching him, lifting up walls and making these decisions and kind of reprimanding her and saying,
and you have the Bajoran reaction to it too. The Bajoran reaction. Yes.
And him saying like, hey, a man needs his privacy when he's in the kitchen. And then you've got the whole Jake Sisko discussion of who the best man's gonna be. I'm like, this could be its entire episode, but they knocked it out in like 2 or 3 scenes.
They did. And there was a special moment there for me while I was watching it that I guess it hits me because I'm looking at it from the perspective of a Black person, kind of growing their family, and deciding to, settle down and think ahead and plan the future. And I thought those were good uh, examples for people out there who are trying to do the same thing in their own life. And the thing that I was really most proud of was the idea of Sisko owning land and buying, owning land. He said, "I own it." the 12 hecapades of land, and also visioning building his dream house on the land that he owns. And I just thought, the concept of that idea means a lot, especially for Black people, because home ownership, owning your own land, building your own house. These are the kinds of things, that the American dream offers people, but have eluded Black people because of the suffering and the things that they've went through. But those are the kinds of things.
This was back in the late 90s too, so it was even more eye-opening then.
Right. So I was just saying, I'm proud of the writers for showing Sisko in this kind of light of preparing his future, of ownership of land, of building your dream house, because those are the kinds of goals that all Black people, all people in general, strive for and want for themselves. And the fact that Sisko is out doing it, I was proud of him for for taking those kinds of steps and being responsible about his future, about his, I guess, finances or whatever. He bought land, so all of that stuff. So I thought it's a good concept to have.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's a really good point. And it had a lot of, it's multi-layered. It's not just the opportunity that he's afforded. On top of that, it was also the decisiveness. It was, the fact that he doesn't have to, go dilly-dally with banks and loans and crunch numbers. He's like, oh yeah, I just bought it. I got it. It's done. I handled it, And then he's also, the master of his own destiny, planning out how to have the house built from his own brain. It's not like some contractors are saying, okay, here's, the standard. He's building it from his own brain. I mean, there's so many layers to this. And you're right that would they do it in 3 minutes? A 3-minute scene, right? But you don't want to overlook the significance of each one of those moments within that scene. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Yeah, just the implications of somebody who's being very, he mentioned destiny. You just mentioned destiny as well.
Master of his own destiny there, yeah.
Yeah, the idea of destiny. And he mentions that early. He says, this was supposed to be temporary. I didn't even want this job. And it has led to him being the emissary and now buying a piece of land in Bajor, where he is set to spend some of his retirement, So all of these things have come out of something that he initially resisted. And I think that is also a lesson there about weathering different storms in life and accepting the blessings of life, accepting your destiny in life. And, and once you have accepted it, then being forceful about what your vision is and how you want to push it.
And then the prophets completely trying to shut you down, being like, oh, you think you want to do all these things? That's cute. We have other plans for you. And he's like, so after you and I are having this long conversation about his empowerment, and then the prophet's just like, oh yeah, I brought you into this world. I can just tell you what to do.
No, you can't marry her. No, she's not. You can't. Don't marry her.
Well, why not? Oh, because that's just not our plan for you. Oh, it's not your plan for me to do with my life. He takes it well, I guess.
I mean, that's hard to take. Because I think this is where it's starting to interfere with what he wants to do in life. I think in some ways it's complemented what he wanted to do. The prophets have helped guide him so far. They haven't really worked against what his goals were.
Well, they're guiding him on what's best for Deep Space Nine, what's best for the Alpha Quadrant, what's best for Bajor, what's best for the Federation in a lot of ways. But they have not guided him in what's best for him and his life as a person. Because remember, he always has that battle of what's best for Sisko and what's best for Bajor and all those other things. And those usually don't go hand in hand. And he's usually sacrificing what's best for Sisko for what's best for Bajor. And right now he's at another one of those crossroads. And it seems like this one's even bigger because he's trying to plan the next phase in his life. And they're not just saying, well, you also have to do this. They're saying, no, you can't do that at all. You can't marry the person and live with the person that you want to live with. Come on. What?
Yeah, that's when they that's where they start crossing the line. Yeah. And as far as, taking over his will, but they kind of tried to explain that away, but it was just, he said, "You're not my mother," when, that scene.
You're not my mommy. You're not my dad.
It's like, yes, I am. I am your mom. So yeah, there was a lot of things with that. It was kind of deep. I also wanted to say that it was a small scene, but I thought it was cool. It's when Ezri's sitting in the office or something, and Sisko calls up, and he pops up on the screen, and he says something to the effect of, "Yeah, we've been looking all over for Worf. We can't find him." And
that was strange.
Right?
I was like, whoa, what? Why does Sisko need to answer to her? What, where does this
he
come
doesn't. He doesn't. And that's why I wrote it down in my notes, because I wrote down a courtesy call to Dax, to Ezri, right? He doesn't have to tell Ezri that. He doesn't have to call her and give her an update on what's going on. But as a courtesy, because he knows about, how their connection, I thought that was a classy move on his part to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the captain's taking time out of his day. They're on a search. They've been probably looking for bodies or looking for, ships and trying to rescue people. And out of, now they're giving up on that mission. And instead of just, saying, "I'll tell her when we get back," he gets on the phone and says, "Hey, look, the person that you love the most in this world is lost." And I thought that was a big move.
Yeah, no, I agree. It was a surprising moment, and then you understand why he does it. And speaking of the person that you love the most, we're going to hit our free-for-all in just a second, but we'd like to say thank you to the people we love the most. Besides everybody else, we love everybody equally. And here they are. Homer Frizzell. He wants to be called Commander Homer Frizzell. So Commander Homer Frizzell sometimes.
Okay.
Dr. Marie Segal, Eve England out in Wales, Yvette Blackmon-Tom, Carmen, a.k.a. Skillet, Timothy Baum, TJ Jackson-Bey out in Missouri, Bill Victor Arucan, Titus Mohler, Darlena Marie John Mann, Dr. Mohamed Noor, Tierney C. Dieckmann, Anna Post, Rex A. Wood, Anil O. Palat, Erica Strom, Joe Balsarati, Mike Gu, DQ, Neil Akasaka, Justine Norton-Kurtzen, Dr. Stephanie Baker, Carrie Schwent, Faith Howell, Edward Foltz, Radek Orszewski out in Poland, Southwest Poland, I believe it was, Henry Unger, live from Tokyo, and of course, Dr. Susan V. Gruner. Feels like we still have so much more to talk about on this episode because there was just so much to it. But we're going to have to do it on the free-for-all, everybody. So stick around. We'll be right back on the 7th rule. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the 7th rule. This is all business all the time with Cirroc Lofton.
Yeah.
We're also joined today by Homer Frizzell, Anil Palat, Grandpa One, Carrie Schwent, Malissa Longo, Dr. Susan V. Gruner, Faith Howell, live from Tokyo, and Dr. Marie Segal. All right. Let's have some fun. Wait, business. I mean, first of all, you guys, did you catch all the NAMs today? There were so many.
Yeah, Captain Baudet, my favorite.
I knew you'd get that one.
We have to discuss the NAMs in this case too, I think. Does a photo make it a NAM?
Who was it?
You like
Sarah and Jadzia.
Sarah and
Sarah, we saw her.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
the father.
But
Oh, Joseph Sisko? Yeah.
Yes, Joseph.
They mentioned Joseph Sisko, yeah.
But like,
Well, he was in the
Sorella,
picture,
one.
right?
He was
just
in the
hear a
picture.
flashback of her talking.
It was a young version of him in the picture, I think.
That's an interesting point. Well, okay, we know where to go with this. Homer. First of all, Anne-Marie, what do you think? Is Captain Baudet the first guy that you can say, hey, what's on your mind? But you actually know the answer. So
I love him.
Homer, sorry, Tim. Dr. Susan V. Gruner asks, if they mentioned Joseph Sisko, but you also see him in a picture, is that a non-appearance mention?
This is a great one. And it's a gray area. It hasn't been defined. And what we come up with here could set a precedent. So we need to be very careful about how we decide on this particular issue. I believe that, no, it is not a NAM. Wait, no. Hold on. Let me think about this. Actually, I'm going to counteract that and say yes, it is a NAM, and the reason being is that if the character appears, and I'm going to say in their body in the show, then it's not a NAM. So, for example, by the same logic, like the dead person, I would say nope, they're on the show. It's not a NAM. Whereas if it's just an image of them, I think it is a NAM.
What if it's their voice from a flashback?
I think it's a NAM. Because they aren't there.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
That's the definition. Are they there?
Or are they getting residuals for the episode?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
That's a good question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. More like is their name in the credit?
Exactly. That too. Yeah.
Oh,
man. All right, guys. There's one way to. Since Homer felt unsure, that means it's open. Oh boy.
It says thank you for your participation.
It needs another answer. I'm not sure. Or all of the above.
What if it's a prophet who's impersonating somebody, but we don't actually see that person?
Ooh. So it's not that person, really.
I think we just got to get the major ground rules down and then figure out some of the other stuff.
We just waited until the 7th season to do this, so
more than halfway through it. All right, everybody that answered the question, the poll question, says yes, it is a NAM. So, somebody just said no at the end there.
This is no, not a NAM. Does anybody have a picture of the clear-headed aliens that Captain Baudet belongs to?
Mm-mm.
Did they ever show them?
Dolomite? No.
Dolomite? They're called Dolomite?
Galamite.
Galamite.
I was like,
Dynamite.
I know Dolomite. Okay, so we've never seen one. And but in the animated show, they had one in the animated show, right? No? Animated series?
I think so. But they should.
So we've never seen one in
Look at Cirroc knowing Star Trek so well that he just does the educated guess. Nice.
Yeah,
it's come a long way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would like to see one of those. Somebody's got to break that up. We got to ask Mike Mann to break out the clear-headed, at least in animation they can pull it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. If not an animation, I mean, not really. Yeah.
Well,
that'd be some makeup job.
I mean, you could put the person's head in the brain.
In the brain. Yeah.
In the brain.
Got a lot of puzzled looks there.
Insane in the brain.
So we got
with the brain, they don't specify how big the brain is. So
could be the size of a walnut, like dinosaurs. We had Captain Baudet. We had Joseph Sisko. Do you guys? What else did you get there, guys? We got a bunch more.
Maybe Sorella.
Sorella was one. Yes.
Alexander.
Alexander, excellent. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Good knowledge.
Yoshi.
Kira Yoshi. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are we
Big
still
time.
counting Jadzia?
Yep. She's skyrocketing in the NAMs, by the
Yeah,
way.
she is. And the Vedig Oren, whoever he is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Vedic Orange.
I don't think that's a name
guy.
unless we were introduced to him before on screen.
Yeah, I don't think were we though.
Yeah, but then
since we don't know.
Yeah, but then Captain Baudet and Felix wouldn't count, and also like Cousin Baylor wouldn't count until he came on.
Oh yeah, they don't count.
No, they
Excellent. I agree.
Good points, guys. Okay, Vedic Orange guy.
No.
Yeah, he does count.
I think it counts too. I think it counts too because there's many people that we haven't seen on screen that we have counted in the past. So
that's just bad counting.
What about? I got one more floating around in there. What do you guys think? And I'm not even positive if this person was a NAM because they didn't specify exactly if it was the person that I thought it might be, but it was Admiral Ross.
Yeah.
Oh, they said Bill Ross.
They said Bill Ross, but I don't remember if that's his first name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I assumed that it was.
All right.
I think, yeah, that one's good.
And obviously Jadzia would always be a name too. I know. Did you guys say her already?
Nope, you're right. Mm-hmm. Okay,
Well,
and lastly,
great grandfather too.
We're going to hop over to Anil in a second here, but before we do that, Jake Sisko guesses the IMDb score. I know what Sue's thinking right now. I know what she's thinking.
IMDb score. I'm going to say a 7.7. I'm going 7.7.
Anybody else have any guesses? That doesn't.
I'd guess 7.
7.9.
7.9. The answer is 7.4. I know that's pretty. That's lower than I think it should would deserve. Yeah,
a little bit low.
There's a lot going on in this episode.
A lot of great stuff. All right, Anil, how are you? Tell us how outraged you are by that 7.4. Yeah, and where are you?
I'm outside of Washington D.C. I'm being a little boring.
I've heard of it.
I was just watching your travel videos. It's so amazing.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it was. It brought me back to the last one I did. I drank fermented horse milk juice. Yeah, that was not my.
Dude, I'm telling you, these videos are crazy.
That was not my favorite. But what was my favorite is this episode. I love how it just starts off like it foreshadows so much. It's like, I don't know, some of the best episodes are coming up. Mm-hmm. It's a shame because the show is going to be over, but I feel like the writers were like, you know what, we're just going to serialize the whole thing, do it the way we've always wanted to do it. So it's like, kind of gives you a glimpse as to what the whole show might have been if they were allowed to just do whatever they want. But it's fantastic. It's just I think it's the last 10 episodes, right? So we're getting into and a great Jake Sisko moment. So between father-son moment, which was really, really nice. So I like that. There's so many things happening in this episode. It was great.
You just love those father-son moments. Like every time those two
one of the
share
best lines in this episode with that little devious laugh at the end.
That's why the prophets were like, no, you can't get married. They were worried about the bachelor party.
Yeah.
That's my new headcanon.
Yeah, I was watching. I noticed that I pulled off a Sisko impersonation in front of him in this episode.
That's awesome.
Where I basically use his voice and I say, "A freighter captain," and I try to imitate Sisko. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of fun right there. I'm surprised he let me get away with that because I was expecting a punch somewhere.
So the question, Cirroc, obviously is, if Jake Sisko were to throw a bachelor party, what would it include? For your dad.
Dabo. Oh.
Dabo is the first word. Second one's wheel, right? Wheel?
I only heard the two.
For your dad.
Oh, for my dad. You know.
But he still got excited about it.
The party's for me too, you know. It's a bachelor party.
You're the reason for this season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely going to be at Quarks. And yeah, it's going to be a nice little double girl fun time. Little gambling. We might have a dress up, you know. Might be dress up. Well, it'll be nice and staged. We'll have
80s
activity,
theme, right? 2380s.
Something in the Hollis suite.
Dolomite.
Yes.
Yes.
Dolomite.
Well, Homer Frizzell wearing this awesome new Lower Decks shirt, which we're all jealous of which we're all jealous, I should say. What do you think of this episode? Way better than a 7.4, right?
I would have given it a 7, actually. And I didn't Worf and Ezri, that whole, I just didn't buy it as much. I miss Jadzia for that kind of stuff. And there's one thing, I'm going to jump to a nitpick now. So first off, this is a 3-picture frame episode, as I recall, which might be a record for Star Trek. I'm not sure. It's up there. And picture frame number 2, I believe, has a tag on the back that probably says Made in China. It's got that little oval tag that's on the flap that keeps the photo up. And I was like, okay, somebody missed that. It's like, oh, I remember those. But I will agree. I really liked the bachelor party moment. And I think that the chat that Quark had with Ezri was nice as well. And then you had the jealousy of both Julian and Worf as it relates to everybody's favorite guy with a translucent head. So it was enjoyable, and it does, as the episode title implies, it does tell us kind of where things are going, especially as it relates to Sisko, you know, and how he must walk this path alone.
Sad. What a downer, Homer.
Oh yeah, so you got to hand it over to anybody else, and they'll bring it back up.
All right. Dr. Susan B. Gruner, do you agree with Homer that it should have been a 7?
No, but I agree with him about the Worf and Ezri thing completely. I wasn't expecting that. Obviously, I've seen it 100 times, but I'm not crazy about that. But one thing I really liked about this episode is when Dukat has the surgery and he says to Damar, the surgeon you recommended, and Damar said, yes, she's good. I love that they made the surgeon a female.
Yeah.
Good point. A she, not a he. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for that reason, I'm giving it an 8.7.
What would you have given it if they didn't say she? Nice. Right.
But we got to see her work turning him back.
Right.
That's what Damar wants to see real bad.
Yeah.
All right. Malissa Longo, your thoughts? Tell them they're crazy. This is a 10, right?
Not quite a 10 in my book.
Really. No.
But I will say there's so many great things about this episode. One I'm going to emphasize a lot, Sisko. I love Captain Sisko so much. His range is incredible. His acting range Avery's acting range is incredible. From the intimate moments to Cassidy, to the playfulness with Jake, to, just being the emissary and the way he interacts with the Bajorans. And he's fantastic to watch. He's phenomenal to watch. And the subtleties in his face is just incredible. Yeah. I just love that. And then I loved what Jake was wearing when he said, "I'm going to plan the bachelor party." And I still love all of the relationships that have been built over these 7 seasons. And I do have to agree that I don't think that Worf and Ezri have any chemistry whatsoever as a romantic couple. There's just no spark there. And I think I would have liked it better if they would have continued to explore the friendship without them having to sleep together. I don't think that was necessary. So, yeah. My opinion.
Mm-hmm. I'm not even
and all
sure.
she got was a crick on her neck.
Yeah. You went easy on her.
No injury.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I kind of feel you on that, Melissa, especially when you contrast it against the buildup of Sisko and Cassidy and how long they've been working on that relationship. And I really felt it was genuine when Sisko tells Cassidy, "I love you," and when he puts the ring on it. It was a real special.
And I understand that there's going to be some confusion about feelings towards each other. Of course there is, between Ezri and Worf. That only makes sense. That's natural because she has her memories and she's the closest thing to Jadzia that Worf is ever going to get to. I understand that. And that makes sense that there would be some confusion, but I just don't think it was necessary that they would sleep together. And they don't share the same chemistry as Sisko and Cassidy do share for each other.
By the way, only in the movies do I see 2 people argue and then have sex right after.
That's never happened yet.
Because everywhere I've gone, when I'm arguing with somebody, we stay mad for a while and nobody wants to be around.
You got to try it. You're missing out, Cirroc.
Yeah, I've never got slapped and then break out the bedroom. You get slapped. It's like, it's kind of major. It's like, this is a big deal. Only in the movies do you see that. I've never experienced that in my life where I'm in a full out argument with somebody and then it turns into sex. I'm sorry, it doesn't happen for me.
Well, you also never talked to somebody that had the memories of a previous wife. There's also
but you always see that in movies, or it's like they're just arguing,
totally.
and then they just next thing you know they're just stripping their clothes off because it's like the anger turned into a hot flash. And it just doesn't, for me, if I'm angry, I have to cool down. I have to get, there has to be an apology there. Then maybe something will pop up. And then, after we've resolved the issue, if we have an issue, it has to be resolved first. I can't just go right in there from an issue. After the issue's resolved, I apologize. Somebody apologizes. We hug it out, and then things might turn into special time. But I just don't see it in the midst of an argument.
All right.
I hate you. I'm mad at you. Throw something at them, and then rip their clothes off.
They say the line between love and hate is very, very thin. It's passion. Carrie Schwentz.
Who are these people that say that anyway?
Well, Carrie Schwentz,
I think,
for one.
Oh, Carrie. Okay, please tell us more.
Yeah. What do you think on this subject, Carrie? or
I'm
any
just
subject.
Gonna leave that alone. I'll transition with the haiku, just a palate cleanser.
Perfect.
Ezri and Worf fight. Sisko builds a tiny house. Ducat's face changes. This one practically wrote itself. I love it when that happens. And I have a couple of nitpicks. Grumpy Bear is ready to go. I have two. Now, at the beginning, when Kara walks up and tells the three that are sitting there, ship was attacked. Worf is missing. All of that. She should not have done that out in public. You gather up a meeting in the wardroom. You tell everybody in private. You don't do that right in the middle of the promenade, especially not for something that serious.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me, but that should have been done behind closed doors, just to give them a chance to have their feelings behind closed doors, and then go out and be professional.
Unfortunately, I never really got the feeling watching this episode that Worf was in any kind of imminent danger. It was kind of like it. I was set up to think, okay, they're going to find him. This is all about finding him.
Yeah.
And they kind of made finding him relatively quickly happen.
I just kept thinking that he seems like he'd be really stinky. Like right when she beamed him in, and he'd just been sitting there all disheveled after practically burning
lavender or lilac
for 4 days, and he's just sitting there. I was like, oh, he is ripe. And then they go out and he's hunting animals and carrying. I was just like, good Lord. I hope she made him go jump in a lake first or something. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of the runabout, that's my other nitpick. She's asking the computer to do all this stuff for her. Does she not know how to pilot a runabout? And if she doesn't, what the hell was she doing on that alone? At least when she had Worf, she had Worf to do stuff, but she clearly didn't know what she was doing piloting that thing.
I have an explanation for that. I've kind of thought about that too, but the explanation I had was because she's in the ship by herself, if she just locks a tractor beam onto his ship and does it, then we would visually see it, but we wouldn't actually hear the explanation of what's going on. And that's why I felt like she was saying, computer, lock that ship on. It was so that the writers could give us exposition, and even though there's no one to talk to. Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah.
Ooh, I love that rock. That's smart.
Buy that. And there was one name that not sure if anybody else noticed, but the Sona.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The what?
Yes.
The Sona.
That was mentioned in there. So cool.
Mm-hmm.
They are in charge of the planet that has the Ketracel White facility.
Oh.
They're from the Star Trek Insurrection movie.
Yeah. Very good.
They give great facelifts.
Yeah, they're the face stretching.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of creepy faces, did we have to see her peel a bit of her?
That was
face
so gross. Oh my gosh.
No.
You don't like?
Didn't they
you don't like dried goo?
Once it was goo, I was fine, but it was the peeling I had the problem with.
Yeah, they did mention the brain.
They mentioned the brain, right?
He said, I think we're on a brain ship.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Yeah.
We saw the brain.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They're the ones with the helmets on.
And Sisko building the little dollhouse with all the little tiny furniture, even the tiny furniture, little tiny fixtures.
I'm not sure how pleased you would be hearing you call it a dollhouse.
Oh yeah, that was one of my mom's biggest things.
This is the emissary's house.
And the message that the prophet at the end gave him reminded me a lot of the end of Stephen King's Dark Tower book series. You get to a certain point at the end, everything's cool, and then there's this author's note. He's like, okay, if you like nice, neat, happy endings, stop now. If you keep going and you don't like what you read, you have no one to blame but yourself, basically.
Well, that's cool. That was like a little
note.
Kind of
what it made me think of. Like, you can keep going, but if you do, it's your fault.
Mm-hmm.
if you don't like what happens. Personally, I like how he ended the Dark Tower series, but that's a whole other discussion.
That's interesting. That's good stuff. The only time I've ever seen an author's note was at the beginning of the Hobbit book. And the author says, J.R.R. Tolkien says something like, oh, this might not seem like a big deal to you, but you're sitting there in your favorite easy chair smoking a pipe or something like that. And I'm like, bro, your 1937 is showing. I'm not in an easy chair smoking a pipe. But anyway, good stuff, Carrie. Faith Howell, you've always got good stuff for us as well. You're floating out by Deep Space Nine. How are you?
I rewatched this episode and I knew I was coming in here with nothing in particular to add about the episode specifically. However, I did want to add a little bit of background. So I remember when this arc started and I remember the excitement of, oh my goodness, they're going to be doing 8 back-to-back episodes and how exciting that was. And just to show my age a little bit, I was in the 8th grade. And I was probably the only 8th grader, just excited out of my mind. That's all I could talk about. And so excited that when the last episode novelization came out, like 48 hours before that the last episode came out, I had it in hand and had it read before showtime. So I'm super excited that we've gotten to these episodes. Of course, I'm heartbroken that we're to the end, but I'm excited to hear everybody's thoughts and to live through it again. And so excited that we get Casey Biggs and Damar in every episode from here on out. But I don't want to say too much else about it because we're just at the beginning of the arc and I don't want to spoil anything.
So. Faith, you were brought up right. You had Star Trek in your household growing up.
Fight for this one. I did have Star Trek growing up. I was raised very correctly, except for a long time when DS9 first aired, the first probably up until Next Gen had like thoroughly ended. It was airing on the same channel on UPN on one station, and Next Gen was still in syndication on another station. And my dad would rather watch that, and so I watched all of Voyager from the beginning, but he wouldn't. I remember asking him at dinner, why are we watching this when there's New Trek on the other station? And he's like, So I love my daddy, but he did me wrong until Next Gen was over.
He's like, I need my Geordie, okay? Leave me alone.
But I caught up. We're there. We're good.
All right. My Live from Tokyo has a giant Jake Sisko head.
I do.
One of the coolest shirts
of that
ever.
It's like we're hugging each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
How are
good
you,
shirt.
Mai? Early
I'm good.
morning in Tokyo.
It's better when you started at 6 o'clock PST, as you said in the message. I love it. It's great. I can definitely deal with 7 o'clock in the morning here, which is a nicer start. Yeah, no, this is a great episode. I loved it. In fact, Ryan, I sent you a picture via Messenger. I don't know if you can share that one or not. When I come to that point in my comments, have a look at your private messenger.
I see it.
Okay, so I'll bring that up in a second. So hang on.
Oh my God, it's so good.
This episode, I love. I completely agree with what Melissa was talking about with the masterclass in acting. Avery did a great job. There were a couple of other instances of great acting. When the thing opens, when the opening scene, we see the Penny that she became in the Orville, and the woman she's then, she could very easily have come from this character here. To me,
totally.
The same fiercely independent, capable person, so filled up and wanting to be encompassed by that relationship. I just thought it was a terrific bit of personality continuity in the Orville based on this, which I don't know. I saw that one most recently. Then I saw this again. I love the continuity in her character and her style. This is fantastic. So the picture, I think the comm panel that Sisko talks to Ezri on, am I the only one? Maybe I'm too old for the rest of you, but am I the only one that thinks that this looks a lot like Simon? Go ahead, Ryan. You're on.
Oh,
wow. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
This is great.
So,
Did you make this graphic yourself, Mai? This is great.
I did. I just pulled it up. It always strikes me that way. And I had a Simon when in the 70s. I was like, beep, 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 beep. So, yes. Anyway.
I did too.
I think a little Ryan-esque humor moment is called for here.
Nobody deserves that. Homer's like, what kind of a ripoff is this?
I'm going to disagree with Homer a little bit later because I think that I'll disagree with him right now. This episode is a wonderful Esri Worf
yes, thank
episode.
you.
I love it for that reason. In fact, there are two reasons I love this. One is that it's an Esri Worf episode, and the other one is really because it's an Esri Worf episode. So I like that a lot. Ryan-esque humor. So Esri took the runabout to go look for Worf. So can we say that she went and took a gander for Worf?
Oh,
that's epic.
Because it was Ganda, right?
You know what happened with that though?
Very
so it was
nice.
named Ganges.
You're right. Yeah.
Episode Renee.
Yeah.
And he had forgotten there was already a Ganges that got destroyed.
They overdubbed it, right?
Yeah, and then he felt salty, so he chose another river that sounded like Ganges.
Yep, USS Ganda. Excellent, Mai. Excellent.
So the master class in acting for me was Jeffrey Combs. His face in the dialogue with Damar. I mean, he's staring off into the distance, so incredibly expressive. He doesn't need anyone else to bounce the emotion off of. He's just there. Yeah, pure gold. I loved him. He's just incredible. This is my favorite piece that he does in all of the episodes. I really like it a lot. He touches on a lot of things. Quote of the episode going to Cirroc was talking about relationships and fights and moving into special time. That the quote of the episode, something we probably all wanted to say at one time or another, as reason. So, what was it like being in that escape pod for so long? And he's like, quiet. There was an undercurrent there of patience going on. So, but great Esri Worf episode. Finally, I think this episode is setting us up for Sisko's transition. I'm a big fan of transitions, obviously. He seems to sense it's coming, and although he protests and he says that he loves Cassidy, he seems to know that he's going to lose that battle somehow. To me, it strikes me he's more curious than anything else at the end. That look. Memory Alpha says Sisko comes out from the vision, his face filled with sorrow. I didn't see it as sorrow so much. I saw it as a look of curiosity and wonder at a realization. It's the look of somebody who's had a hallucinogenic vision and has yet to start to reframe things in the limits of logic and reality imposed by not being so high. It's just he's in touch with a different plane when he sees what's going on there. So love this episode on a whole lot of levels. Sorry to the naysayers about Esri and Worf, but I loved it for that. So anyway, there you go.
You guys notice how comfortable Mai was throwing in hallucinations and getting high and all this?
Yeah.
I knew somebody from San Jose was going to call me out on that one, but I'm from Berkeley and I grew up in the 60s. So what can I say?
Nice. All right, Anne-Marie. People are
Maya's so hard to talk.
battling it out neck and neck right now.
Yeah,
Pro Esri and Worf or anti?
I mean, pro this storyline. Like, I felt like it really needed to be done. Like, they needed to have that discussion and really get to their feelings. And of course, they're like in a life or death situation. I feel like with all that, like adrenaline on top of everything, like that was the natural thing to have happen. And that kind of like blow up and exploration of that relationship needed to happen before they can like move on. And it sets up for like really interesting exploration in other episodes. Also, I'm a big fan of dollhouses, so I loved that scene. Like, me and my dad have been building and rebuilding mine for like decades now. And I mean, just like in addition to like how I felt like Esri and Worf is so real and so raw, and like it is a unique situation, and like Worf is still so in love with Dax, and of course, like if there's somebody who has her thoughts, like that's going to create like I mean, it might not be totally normal. Plus, Worf is like Klingon, so you can also very much see like a blow up leading to sex. And then a couple other things. Like I didn't know this until I was reading this week that like this one's called Penumbra, which is like the lighter part of a shadow. And then next week's was supposed to be called Umbra, but then they had to like, I can't do any spoilers, but they changed the name because they had to like add some other things to this like legendary 9-episode arc. But I thought it was cool that the first 2 were supposed to like technically be named as a 2-parter or like 2 continuations. And then oh yeah, I guess that's about it. I also just love Jake as a matchmaker. Like, ooh, matchmake me.
He's 1 for 1.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Very
pretty
successful.
I thought I have a comment to make about the founders. I thought that she is it Salome? I always ask
Salome.
She did a great job of showing how they do not give a shit about anybody, any life forms other than themselves. In like one line.
Yeah. I was like, why do they have to kill the doctors? I mean, why not, repurpose them for some other mission?
That's a great actress though, because you hate her so much, and she hardly says a word. She can just stand there, and I think, oh, bitch, hate her.
But she's so respectful when Odo comes around. It's crazy because she has a respect for Odo, but when other people, nah.
And that's the way she says Odo. She's like, Odo.
Yeah. Well, she kind of slept with Odo, so yeah.
Kind of.
That happened too.
But Odo's a changeling. He's the same species as her, so she doesn't think much of anyone else except the changelings.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Grandpa One. This guy knows who sleeps with who. He keeps tabs on everybody. What do you think about this episode?
Well, honestly, I think it should have been titled "Another Starfleet Officer Disobeys a Direct Order," Part 87. I've said it before. It's like, oh, Ezri just goes off, disobeys a direct order. I always thought if they rebooted Deep Space Nine, the very first season would be nothing but court-martials for all, whether it was Chief O'Brien or anybody, everything they did in the first 7 years. The one thing that a nitpick when they were discussing when Cassidy and Sisko were talking about, he's buying the property, and it was like they were going like, it's almost like I was destined to be here. And I thought we had kind of like settled that in the first 2 episodes of the season where he realized he was born to be. So it was kind of like, what, do you all forget about what happened in the first 2 episodes? No, he was born to be the emissary, plain and simple. And that's why he's at Bajor. One of the things, when he proposed to her, one of the things that popped in my mind was a meme that showed up a long time ago where they said, everybody knows how I feel about Eddington, but it was like, maybe Eddington should have slept with Sisko. It worked for Cassidy.
Hey.
Oh.
Because they both aided and abetted.
There's tabs on everybody that's sleeping with each other.
They both aided and abetted the Marquis, so But
do we know for certain that he didn't, though?
Maybe that's why I didn't. Yeah, maybe that's why he got broken out of jail.
Yeah, wow. I'm not even going to go there. He stayed in prison, so obviously he didn't. But I'm also of the issue between Ezri and Worf. It's like, that just didn't work for me where they actually slept together.
But there was a campfire. No,
exactly. Have you guys never been
an animal?
Well, and I can understand her wanting to go because they do have a history. But at the same time, I thought that kind of cheapened the whole thing. She's going to rescue them because they have a history and also they're fellow officers. But yeah, that just didn't sit well with me. I had something else to say, but I can't remember what it is now. But no, overall, I thought it was a good episode, but it wasn't one of my favorites. But it does set up, the two biggest things they set up with Sisko becoming a prophet, and then also with the, I remember what I was going to say. Damar drinking at 7 a.m. I'm with you, bro.
There you go.
But yeah, with Gul Dukat becoming a Bajoran, and
his earring choice is so funny. It's like so histrionic. I love it.
But for that reason, I did like the episode for the most part. But I was disappointed in the whole Ezri Worf thing, and also, sure enough, somebody says you've got a direct order to return. Never mind. Okay,
I can't hear you, Grandpa. I can't hear what you say.
You guys, yay or nay? What is Dukat sexier as a Cardassian or a Bajoran?
Oh my god, that hairpiece! Oh my gosh,
Cardassian.
I'd say Bajoran.
Oh.
I say Bajoran.
Oh, I'm not into Bajoran men.
Well, and he got
like him with that chest plate. He's got to have that angular chest plate.
Well, and he got to sleep with Nurse Ratched. I mean, geez.
Spoilers.
She probably had the Academy Award on the nightstand.
Spoilers.
Oh no, he's not sexy. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry.
Oh,
the
yes,
guy is not sexy.
We're doing a poll on this.
Oh
no.
I was gonna say, dead air.
That's it, because this has got to be settled right here
Oh no.
and now.
Oh,
All right.
oh man.
Oh yes.
Single.
that was the easiest poll ever.
And everybody at home, in the comments below, let us know. Did you find Gul Dukat sexier as a Cardassian or as a Bajoran? I know it's tough.
Do I have to answer this question?
No, you get to.
I just wanted him becoming a Bajoran. Actually, was one of my favorite story arcs towards the end. I thought he played that very well.
Me too.
I hate that I'm answering this. Oh God!
Wow, you're into Bajorans, Sue.
You can see who voted what.
I literally flipped a coin.
No, it's just because she said, "Oh, I can't believe I'm doing this," and then right then, Bajoran got an extra vote. So,
yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Wow! Holy shit!
Cardassian wins.
Well, that's
officially.
They can have them.
All right. This kind of went off the rails a little bit. I blame Anil.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Cirroc, any final thoughts before we go?
Yeah, you know what? I like when Damar said, "Boy, I'd like to wipe the smirk off of his face." I thought it was a great line delivery on Casey's part. It sums up the way I feel every time I see Wei Yun. Except I also feel that way about Damar. So
Totally.
It was the irony of him saying it.
That's the way you feel about him.
Yeah. And
Sorry, Mai.
I would have called this episode Conundrum because I felt like everybody was in a little conundrum in their little issues.
Right now, Anne Marie's trying to decide if she wants to tell you that there is a Next Generation episode called Conundrum.
That's a great transition.
You know,
book also.
I was trying to think, like, is there one that does sound like a Star Trek episode?
Yeah.
Jan Morris.
And my last thing is Worf and Ezri evacuating the ship, and nobody brings a comm unit. I won't leave my house without my cell phone. Sometimes I don't even have the keys, but I got my cell phone.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you leave the one thing you're going to need more than even food rations, because you could eat, you can hunt animals or whatever. You need that comm unit. So I thought that was super irresponsible for Worf to say, I thought you brought it. No, I'm bringing it. We'll both bring one, but I'm definitely bringing one. That's my final on that.
Solid nitpick.
Also, just to reiterate,
trust but verify.
Yeah, and also to reiterate what I said, in the review, and that is seeing Sisko being a good father, and now being a good, lover to his love, and also planning out a future for himself, building a house on a parcel of land. These are really responsible, very mature ways of planning your life and strategizing how you want to live your life. And I'm very proud to see that they have prescribed these kinds of values and intentions to, a Black character, because a lot of the times you don't see Black characters that have this kind of level of morality, of decency, of intelligence, integrity, who's, across the board, just a gentleman with his significant other, who's a great dad and gives his son, all the kind of love that he needs. So, and then also who's planning a retirement in this form and fashion. Like, I'm going to build this kind of a house, and I want this floor plan. The level of thought into him thinking about his future and the future of his family, that to me is a credit to the kind of Black characters that I'd like to see more of.
And that it's so within his character to build things, like he built the little ship and everything. That is spot on, Sisko.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. With that, everybody, it's time to go. I feel like we're forgetting something, but no, we got Jake.
You may go.
We got the Jake Sisko guess of the IMDb score. That's pretty much. We got the NAMs. We got the fun. All right. Thanks very much. It was fun, no?
Oh, you may go now. I love when the founder says that to Wigan.
Can you say it the way she says it, though?
No, I have to practice. But it cracks me up every time.
Okay. Grandpa One's got a good Ducat. He's got a good Ducat impression. Actually, Grandpa One could do a good Damar, I bet. Oh, well.
There it is.
No. All right. Well, thanks very much to Homer, Anil, Mai, Carrie, Melissa, Sue, Anne Marie, Tim, and Faith for Cirroc, Lofton, and myself, and our favorite human, Mr. Aaron Eisenberg. Thank you all very much. We will see you next time. And until then, always remember the 7th rule.